What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, D&Do commentary. We have iTweety versus Windup44, Shadolls versus Qliphort, 1687, 1717. I think that this is a match I think this match is bad for Qliphort now. If we're going back to when Qliphort had 3 skill drain and 3 scout, then the match becomes like way better. I don't even think Vanities wasn't even that super important against Shadolls, to be honest, because they could easily just be like Mathematician, Dragon. Okay, there goes your Vanities. Like, Vanities wasn't really that difficult to get rid of. Skill Drain was a bitch because they couldn't do the Mathematician play. Not to mention Sinister Shadow games, they could easily dump Dragon from that. But like, to me, it not only did it stop your Mathematicians and your Windows from doing shit. Same thing with Constructs. But then it, of course, made their monsters bigger. Like, if your opponent has a 28 tributed, what's it called? If your opponent has a 28 monster and Qliphort, especially if it's been tribute summoned and they have a pendulum scale of like carrier, it's already hard enough to deal with that shit. But if your opponent has skill drain, it's like fucking impossible to kill. So, Windup opens with Squamata. I guess he's just wanting to test out the water with a L play, but I'm just gonna say okay, I guess. I don't really understand what the Squamata does. Oh, he has mind control. Okay. I was like, if he had like Snatch Still, this would be like a way better play. But okay, mind control. Exiton Knight would be fantastic here. Now, I wonder if iTweety is playing lose a turn. He would have already flipped it. So he's going to go for an XC. Obviously, sacrifice hits the graveyard immediately. Looks like he doesn't scout. I believe the XC actually comes out first because you haven't done an action yet. The XC has to come out first before you search. Because until you XC, you haven't completed the action that tells your opponent you're doing something. Alright, so he goes into Lavalval Chain. There were about 5 different XCs that I could have saw coming out. Lavalval Chain was not one of the 5. I'm just being honest. Exiton was 1, 2, 4, and probably 5, and Castel was probably 3. I think that's the number I forgot. Okay, so skill drain flipped over. Let's see if he has that Mystical Space Typhoon, which a lot of people are taking out of their main decks now. So you get caught with an MST, or you get caught without an MST, bad shit can happen. And I don't really know how many people are going to main deck Galaxy Cyclone in Shadolls. I love the card, don't get me wrong, but in Shadolls, maybe not so much. Alright, so I guess he's just going to go on the raw damage here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Mirror Force, mainly because if you're iTweety, you probably know that you're you're probably 1 turn away from winning and having control of the game. The only way that Windup can win is through just forcible raw damage. Like, you don't want to get caught with an L play where he attacks for 18, 17, and then L's you for like Construct and you lose. Like, you don't want to get caught with that play. All the other stuff is kind of irrelevant because these 17 and 18 beaters, and there's the L play, just don't lose to it. That's all I'm gonna say. Because to me, it seemed kind of obvious. If you had any cards to counter, you should have burnt them. You can't be caught with 2 face downs that don't do anything. Like, really? No Dragon either. Alright, so he's going to bring out Construct. He'll activate the other effects in another chain. And iTweety just had a whole bunch of garbage set. Wow, that actually worked. I blame that on iTweety. I mean, it was a good opening, don't get me wrong, with skill drain, but if you just have no cards back there that stop anything, like, what are you doing? I mean, I'm thinking maybe he had like a Recreate, and I'm trying to think of another card that doesn't do anything and can't stop a monster in any way. Like, Bottomless doesn't qualify, Torrential, Mirror Force, Phoenix Chain, Book of Moon. Like, none of those cards qualify. So it's really hard for me to figure out what iTweety had back there. Maybe Mind Crush. That might have been the only other card. The only other card could have been Mind Crush. Okay, so he opens up with Summoner's Art again. Gotcha. But I mean, even with Mind Crush, it was pretty obvious that he had L. Otherwise, why would he even summon Squamata? I mean, I get that he had the Exceed play, but just personally to me, as soon as I saw him summon Squamata, I was like, okay, you have L Fusion in your hand. The question will be if Qliphort goes for a play that was similar to the last one. Shit didn't work out. Looks like he's going for pretty much the same exact play. Now there is actually one thing that Duels struggle against, and that is like Duels do kind of struggle against monsters that can't be destroyed by battle, because like the deck doesn't have a ton of removal. I mean, I guess you can set Squamata and Dragon, but that's kind of slow, especially against Qliphort. And BLS and Dark Arm are kind of situational. Well, Dark Arm is, BLS really isn't. Outside of that, there's not a ton of removal. I mean, I guess you could have the obligatory Dark Holes and Regekis and shit. Wind up just setting a card. Interesting, knowing that his opponent clearly can get the Qliphort Stealth next turn. That would be something that would be terrible, especially if he was able to partner it with Monolith. Now, I think it's a good thing that Qliphort that he doesn't have Carrier, or excuse me, that he doesn't have Helix out. Okay, so it looks like he had the Stealth, but he does have the Stealth regardless, and it's probably going to bounce the monster, which would probably mean a clean Carrier, or a clean Scout, unless that other card is like, if the other back row is, I don't know, another Mystical Space Typhoon, the monster's getting bounced too. I'm trying to think if you go ahead and take Monolith here off of the Scout, assuming the Scout resolves. I'm just going to assume it is. I mean, maybe he opened with double Mystical Space Typhoon and the face down is not it. But again, you have Sinister Shadow Games. I don't know how many people play that card still. There's a chance he could wait till the end phase, try and pop the Monolith. I wouldn't recommend that, honestly. I wouldn't even Pendulum, to be honest. Like, I don't see that much upside in it. Like, some of you guys might be thinking, why doesn't he Pendulum the Carrier back to get more damage? Because then he could use Shadow Fusion for free. Like, it's not worth it. Like, is it really worth getting the 1800 damage to potentially lose to a Shadow Fusion, to your opponent being able to summon a Construct, blow up your second Scout, which would mean you're out of Scouts now? Like, it's not worth it. Like, use it when you know you can kill your opponent. Because getting that Scout out and getting that, getting the Scout and getting the Carrier is not worth it. Unless you're going to drop like towers or some shit. But then at that point, you should be just tributing those monsters. Unless you're going for game. If you're going for game, it's totally worth it. Outside of that, like, just leave those extra deck monsters on top of the extra deck. Because if you're not going to win that turn, don't even make the play. I'm going to say that Tweety's definitely at advantage here. Wind Up has to probably reset a card that I don't even know how good it was going to be to begin with, but he's already a turn behind, and I'm not even sure if he has an answer to the Scout. I mean, maybe the face down card that got spun to the hand, maybe it is like a legitimate answer to Scout, but I don't know. If it isn't, then this duel could definitely get out of hand. Because he could easily just Pendulum summon those two dudes back and tribute for stealth and just keep, like, it could just be Stealth Train where he's just bouncing his cards. He's just bouncing those same two cards over and over again, and he's just making it so that, oh wow, you see the normal summon on Helix. Oh, excuse me, that was part of the Pendulum summon. I didn't think that he would normal summon. I'm like, what? So he's gonna search, I guess, wanting to see if he was going to do anything against that. taking out Disc. Okay. Personally, I would have went for Stealth again. Activates Galaxy Cyclone. Wow. Who knew? See, I told you guys it was going to replace Night Beam. Qliphort used to run Night Beam, and now they run Galaxy Cyclone, which is kind of weird because, like, what face-up card actually hurts Qliphort? I can't think of one. I like Skill Drain, Vanities, like none of those cards hurt Qliphort at all. Qliphort doesn't benefit from Galaxy Cyclone in the least. I'm really trying to think of one card that stays face up that actually hurts Qliphort. You see him use Enemy Controller, and that means that Hedgehog will not resolve now. He'll have to give his opponent the disc, but to be completely honest, all he has to do is just tribute, or he has to give him the stealth. All he has to do is just tribute the Helix, and he could just bounce it back. No, he can't, because that stealth is level 8, and okay, so he's bouncing the carrier to his hand. Interesting. Not carrier, scout. I am messing these names up for show. Alright. So I guess he's just gonna... Oh yeah, we forgot about the Regeki he had. Regeki and his own guy. Ruthless, man. Ruthless. We knew that he had Regeki because he did Pod Duality for it, so... I honestly totally forgot that he had Regeki in his hand, so... Okay, the display did make a lot of sense there. Because I'm like, you can just keep using stealth over and over again, and you'll keep drawing cards. But that's like kind of the grind out game. If he had Regeki, he probably wanted to take advantage of it. Enemy Controller was something I didn't see coming, but honestly, I still love Enemy Controller against Qliphort in this matchup because the deck is still known to just summon one monster, set a whole bunch of back row, not necessarily battle traps. We saw that in game 1. Windup was able to just put a whole bunch of random raw damage on board involving an L and a baby dragon and OTK his opponent. And I think it's a legitimate win condition against Qliphort. I tweeted we'll be going first all 3 games. I mean, it'd be amazing if he opened with Scout all 3 games. Now, oddly enough, I don't think Lose a Turn is super fantastic against Shadolls. Mainly because of the dragon and the mathematician plays. Like, I don't really think it's that. Like, it's the nuts against Tellarknights and Necros. But it's not that great against Shadolls. So you see he's going to let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Letting the mathematician go. I'm going to guess Felis is coming out. I mean, if he's running baby dragons, then my man probably has a Felis. Oh, he is going to activate Lose a Turn. Shocker. So, Felis will have to come out in defense mode, which she was going to do already, but Felis won't be able to activate her effect, or at least he won't be able to Black Rose. I believe you can still pay the cost, though. So, I think she can still trigger, because she's off field. Negate its effects. I'd have to read this and read Skill Drain like card for card. He's asking if it's like Recreate. No, it's not. Recreate is not something. Recreate always has to be Chain Link 1. So no, it's not like Recreate. I would guess honestly that you could still use Felis's effect, because to me it looks like it reads like Skill Drain. It just says negate its effects. It doesn't say anything about negating the activation. It's not like Grave of the Super Ancient Organism, where like on that card it says you can't even activate effects of special summon monsters that are 5 or higher. Lose a Turn just says negate effects, but Felis won't be on field anymore, so I don't think that she'd be negated. So I don't actually like Lose a Turn. Even if I'm wrong, I don't like Lose a Turn against Dolls. I just doesn't seem that good, honestly. I don't think Tweety opened up very well, to be honest. Looks like he's going to Mystical Space Typhoon it. He must have just drawn that off the Allure of Darkness. If you Black Rose him now, it's kind of only like killing one card, though. I think Arcanite would be better. Alright, so he's gonna go for Arcanite. And he flips over another lose a turn. Ouch. That's terrible because, no, she doesn't get her counters. The effect's negated. Okay. Yeah, there you go. I'm like, she does not get her counters. That was, wow. I really expected him to follow up with a play, but I guess it doesn't matter. Even if he followed up with an L or something, it would still not do a ton. But for then I Tweety to top deck a Summoner's Art, that kind of sucks. Because I'm pretty sure he's going to search out Sacrifice now. And as much junk as I was just talking about lose a turn and it not being great in this matchup, I think it's single-handedly going to win I Tweety the duel. Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody knows how much I love lose a turn. I think it's the freaking bee's knees. I think it's the best card in the entire set. So you see him tribute summon for, another carrier. And obviously he can bounce the Arcanite. Even if it was somehow negated, he could just like attack over it. That's why I thought he'd get Sacrifice. But I guess it doesn't matter. He says he's gonna get a draw from Monolith anyways. And he takes the Recreate mainly, I guess, to stop Mathematician. It will be a one-turn use on the Mathematician, though. You're not going to get much more out of it. And honestly, I think outside of Mathematician, I don't know how great it's going to be. Thinking maybe you go for Qliphort Stealth now. And I think you try and outgrind him for a turn. Oh, he takes Sacrifice. Is it possible that he might try and drop a Towers? Okay. So he's gonna bounce, and he's gonna use Carrier, clearly. And I guess Wind-Up's just scooping. Yeah, he had a handful of monsters and no way to get the cards out of his hand. Okay. Now, I don't think I like that play that he did, though. I mean, I get that he got the search with Sacrifice, but if he couldn't kill him, wouldn't it have been just better to pendulum the two dudes? The two carriers and then tribute them both to like draw two cards? Or you know what? Excuse me. I think actually he was going to pendulum after the bounces and then he was going to try and attack because that's 36 plus 28. If our calculator is here, pretty sure that's definitely over 56. 36 to 218 carriers plus 28. Yeah, at 64, as long as he didn't fear Gores, he was definitely going to be able to go for game. So you're seeing the power of lose a turn. And I'm trying to catch some Yosenju players playing with lose a turn, but right now it's having a huge impact on Qliphort so far. Thank you guys for watching as always.